Welcome to Colourlab AI 0 to Hero. In this training, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about Colourlab AI's latest version, version 3. This tutorial is aimed at anybody really, people who have never used Colourlab before, and also users who have been with us since version 1 and version 2 who want to learn everything that's new. The best way how to follow this tutorial is to download the media that is provided to you in link below, and then you can follow along as we go through. So once you have installed Colourlab AI, the first thing is how to get started, how to bring the media in, and there are 4 ways how to do that. You can do it directly by importing media into the Colourlab, or you can link it to any one of your applications of choice like Davinci Resolve, Adobe Premiere, and Final Cut Pro. I'm going to show you quickly how to do that. The first method is to bring your media directly into Colourlab, and you can do that by simply pressing onto this button here on the top called Media Import, highlighting all the media that you want to bring in, press open, and there we go. We are ready to go. If you are working with Davinci Resolve as your primary editing and grading application, then what you can do is you can just put all of the media that you want to color grade onto your timeline, and then go to Colourlab AI, and here is a button which says Fetch from Resolve, right? And you just press that button, and then we'll do all the work. We'll analyze the media, we'll bring it in exactly clip by clip, and now you're good to go. If you are working with Adobe Premiere, the first thing you need to do is you need to go into the menu window, and then you go into extensions, right? And you make sure that your extension called Colourlab AI is active. All it needs to do, it just needs to be open. You don't have to have it on top of your window. You just have to know that you have activated it, and also that the lights that say, hey, the color engine is connected are green. Okay, so next thing you do, then you go back into the Colourlab, and then you say fetch from Premiere, right? And then the same thing is going to happen like in Davinci. We're going to analyze the timeline, and we're going to bring all your media from your timeline directly into Colourlab AI. On the other hand, if the weapon of your choice is Final Cut Pro, all you have to do is again the same. You put all your clips you want to grade inside the Final Cut Pro project. Okay, then what you do is you go and you click onto the project icon like this, and then you switch to Colourlab and you drop it so that you can see that there is this plus icon, right? And then when you let it go, we're going to go and import your project via XML import into Colourlab version 3. Alternatively, you can also use the route where you say File and Import from Final Cut XML. So now that we have imported the media, let's familiarize ourselves with the interface. Okay, so what you have here at the top is your toolbar. This is where you're going to find the most important functions like media import, open project, fetch from Resolve, fetch from Premiere. You notice there is no such a thing as fetch from Final Cut Pro because you have to drag a project or import an XML. Here we have a feature called import references. We're going to learn later how to do that. Here we can go and match scene and match all. We'll see as well how to do it. Here we can add scenes. So this is basically our ability where we can just click anywhere on the timeline, and we can then isolate certain parts of our timeline to be a scene that helps us then how to work better and faster. Here we have an export part. That means anything that you have imported into Colourlab, you can export as a movie, you can export it as a still image, as a reference, for example. But also what many people don't realize is that Colourlab AI is an amazing tool for LUT creation, and you can get all of your looks exported as LUTs as well. This expands then further your ability to communicate your color decisions with other applications like Photoshop or anything else you want to do. Here also we can push to resolve. This is what we're going to do once we have finished the grade. We can push to Premiere, which is what we're going to do if we had worked with Premiere, or we can push to Final Cut. We'll see in a detail once we finish the grade how we can use these functions. And all settings, anything that you need to find, you're going to find here. Please also note that we don't have any more preferences that used to be found in this menu here. They are gone. Everything that you ever need to set with Colourlab, you're always going to find here in project settings. The last tab here is what is the color space that you want to output to. By default, we have selected Rec 709, but this can be also HDR or any other option. As we dive deeper, I'm going to show you and explain to you how powerful this feature is. Okay, then we have here is a viewer. The viewer is where really most of the work is going to be happening. And the first thing here you can see is a time code of your timeline. And then there is a new, like a little drop-down window, which says Rec 709 IDT. What this one does, it helps you select what is the profile of your camera. If you remember, in version 2, we used to have a whole window for that. We now consolidated it. And all you have to do is just select all the clips on the timeline as I did, and then click on it. And in my case, I'm going to select for them to be Ari Log C, right? And the moment you do that, now you have color managed your timeline, and you always have to color manage with Colourlab. You always have to tell Colourlab what media is it that you're using, okay? Now, we support so many different cameras. You'll see the list is very long, so it's very unlikely that your camera is not listed. But in case it happens that you don't know what camera it is, but it looks a little bit log, it is most likely that this setting called log generic is going to help you get to the best results, or Rec 709 IDT. But in my case, as we said, I'm going to stick to Arilog C. This is just a little tip for you. All right. The next thing then you have here are buttons that are going to become functional once we start color matching. So this first one is going to show us what's the best match. This one's going to show us the brightest frame. This one's going to show us the darkest frame. We'll see how they work in a minute. Here, these buttons here are available for your preview. So basically you say, hey, I want to see what does it look like when it's log. That means we call it flat, right? Flat means, hey, I want to see nothing applied to it. Okay, this is the one. Here it shows you the standard Rec 709, which is what we are viewing right now because we applied no color grading to it. We only applied color management. That's really 709. And here the last button, this is the one is by default on, is going to show you all the grading that you're going to apply to the clip is going to be visible through this window. So you can actually sometimes go and say, hey, before and after, a 709 or a flat, so you can quickly compare to how your grading is progressing. Right? Here you have a button which is called Set as Match. We're going to see in a minute how that one works. Here are just the standard controls as any other editing application. And if you click on this first button here, this is where you can change the playback mode from clip by clip to loop mode, where each clip is going to be looped. Here we have an exposure button. This is a feature we're going to see in a minute how it works. Extremely powerful. And next to it, it's the setting. It's the target exposure that you want when you start adjusting it. Okay. Next thing I want to show you here is also here when I click on Match here. So there are 3 tabs now here at the top, right? There is Match, Reference, and Show Looks. So let's see what they do. So the match is really where you're going to be performing most of your work, where you're actually going to be doing some matching, right? And on the top, you also have a very useful feature where you can actually split your view. We're going to see in a minute how that works. We're also going to match by region. We have versions that are not very much in use in this particular version 3 because we're so precise now. We have then another feature called Color Tune. We're going to learn what it is. And then these 3 buttons. We made them so big and teal that you really can't miss them. So the first button is called Match. So whatever is visible here, so let's say, for example, I am going to go into my references and I'm going to go and select, let's say, this reference, right? So whatever is visible here and you press the match button, it's going to try to match it. So I'm going to just press match now, and you see it tried and to give you the best possible match simply by moving your left gamma gain as if you were to be a colorist, really, to match those two shots, right? And then you can also view them. You can say, well, I want to do a split screen, you know, maybe like this, right? I want to see how good they match like that. I can also do side-by-side view. I can also do a quad view. The quad view tells us, like, you know, this is your flat, this is your match, this is your Rec 709, and this is your reference. So you have a great overview to what's happening. And this button here is going to show you whatever you're viewing in that moment in full screen. So when you press escape, you go out. So for example, if I ever want to view something like this in full screen, I just press this button. The shortcut is Command F, right? And then escape or another Command F is going to take you out of that view, right? Another feature here that you have is called balance. Okay, so what balance does, it ignores completely what's here, and it uses like a setting that believes could be the best neutral grade. So it didn't really like try to reinvent the look. It just gave you like a good and nice balance. So you see between 709, this is what we had. The balance gave you like a beautiful exposure value and so on. So that you can always use balance. You never need a reference. We'll see like sometimes the better strategy is to use balance. Apply, on the other end, is just going to take your source, whatever you have here, right? Or what we call a reference, right? And we're going to apply it. So it means it's not going to match. It's just going to copy the settings over. And since, you know, this reference doesn't have any other settings, you know, it's just going to go and copy and not actually do anything in our case. But sometimes you have a look or you have a clip, you want to just, you know, copy the setting. Apply is the button for that. Okay, so this is just a quick overview to what this one does. Another button here, very important. We're going to learn more about it. It says, hey, I'm matching a frame or shot. This is very important when you have a longer shots where there is a lot of changes. Then the shot is going to go and analyze the whole clip, and it's going to try to find the best possible frame for matching. So for example, this is now my best shot, right? And I can say which is the brightest and which is the darkest part of my shot, right? So it wasn't too much change, but you see what roughly, you know, this feature does. I'll find some shots where we have a lot of change so you can see better, you know, how this feature does. I recommend you stick with frame for most of the time simply because of the speed reasons, and then, you know, you use shots when you think, oh, I need to really analyze the whole clip and find the best possible match for all of the frames in a clip because there is a lot of changes in it. All right. The next one is references. Okay. References is different than showlet. So we need to understand we've now separated these two. So references is new form of color imaging or color profile. So this is basically a special type of files that we call XO2 files, and these files hold all the information necessary for the AI engine to match. Okay, and there are basically three groups that you can go and find them, or like, you know, three, you know, major kind of ways how you can organize your references, right? So we have a group called skin tone where you can find certain skin tones. You can then have like some interior, so all the shots that are inside, you know, right, they're going to be found here. Then we have exterior shots, right? Everything that's shot outside is going to be found here. Then we have a night shots, right? Then we have a sunset shots, like these ones, right? Then we have ocean shots, right? Some water shots. Then we have some urban environments, right? Or we have some desert environments, right? So these are all kind of categories that help you find the best possible reference image that you want to use to build your look. But it's just very simple. You know, you basically say, oh, I like this desert one, right? You double click on it. When you double click on it, it becomes your reference. And then you go and you say, hey, press a match. And now you basically manage to go and create a best possible match for this particular reference, right? Okay, great. There is another way how we organize the references, which is by palettes, where we chose one predominant color. So for example, these palettes here are predominantly red color, right? So, or kind of warmish, yellowish reds, right? So this is what you can find here. And that doesn't matter whether the interior, exterior, day, night, whatever. Then we have a blue color, where we can just go and say, hey, how about, something bluish, right? So I could, for example, go and say, hey, let me try and play with this one. How would this one work? Very interesting. That could be the way how to go, right? Then we have a green, yellows, right? Cyans, some purple colors as well, some pink color, not very many. And then, we even have a black and white. Why not? How about we try to make this look very nice black and white? Perfect. We can do that as well. Okay. The next thing then we have your project. And this is where anything that you're working on is going to be saved and organized, right? So basically the most useful one is going to be here, one called recent, where you can see any reference that you have used recently, right? Then you can also favorite any of the looks. So for example, I can say, hey, I'm going to go and press a little heart here, right? I want you to be my favorite, okay? And now this is going to appear inside my favorites, right? If I had imported any clips like I did previously, I can then, find those clips here. Here I have a view of all of the references that I have ever used or imported or brought or anything like that. And then also I have a possibility to build lookbooks, right? So what are the lookbooks? So basically, let's say in my favorites, I think like that I'm going to be using this one a lot on my project and I want to save it. I want to have them better organized, right? So what I can do is I can then go and click on this edit like a pencil icon here, right? That's going to open my edit window, right? And then inside my edit window, I would be able to say, because this one's locked, it doesn't let me make any changes. So you have to first unlock it, because those references that get supplied by default, they're locked. So you have to go and do an unlock. And then here in tags, you can just go and select, for example, hey, I'm adding another tag called lookbook 1. So in addition to all of the other tags, I added another tag called lookbook 1. I lock it back in, I'll save it. And now inside my lookbook, I also have that shot. So this is a really good way how you can quickly build your libraries and stuff like this. By the way, there is also right mouse click. There is a lot of right mouse clicks. Anything that you can find in Colourlab can be right mouse clicked if there is any feature. And so for example, I can just right mouse click and say match. And instead of me double clicking and pressing match, this is a great quick way how to do that, right? So this is also a great little shortcut. You can also say match all, right? If I was to press that, it would go and try to match everything, right? So like I'm going to do right now. So basically it's going to go and say every clip on your timeline is going to be matched. This is a really fast way how to get your timeline to quickly, be in a ballpark. This is really what separates Colourlab Ai from any other system, is that it's really capable of very quickly analyzing loads of clips and matching them, saving you tons of time like that. You don't have to do it clip by clip. Also, you can do edit metadata, which is the same thing as pressing the pencil, where you can find the title that you can change. You can make some notes in it. You can add tags. You can favorite. You can do all sorts of things like that. But also, you can export it. You can export it as a metadata, as an XO2 file, and this particular file you can then share with other Colourlab users, and then they can take advantage of your AI references, which is great for people who work in groups. And then also if you want to find, this file where it's saved, you just say reveal in Finder. So this is like a quick overview of the references. The next thing we have here is a show LUTs. Or show looks rather. So you can see they look slightly different. The icon looks a little bit different because they are different. They have got nothing to do with Colourlab Ai. Is such a way that they got nothing to do with actual AI feature, but what they do is they control the look design tab here. So this is basically here tab that you can use. It's a classic. It's one that's used by more than 80,000 people worldwide. It's one of the most popular look design plugins on planet that existed for more than a decade for Davinci Resolve, and has contributed to many movies as a way to design a look. I'm going to go a little bit more into detail and explain you how this look design tab works in one of the other tutorials, but for you just to understand, what these do here is they basically give your material and overall look. And we usually tend to use same show look on all of the clips, right? We don't necessarily change show look from clip to clip unless we want to make significantly different look. So the show LUTs are basically your way that you can just go and give some sort of, identity to your look, right? It works very well as well, by the way, if you're, for example, to do a balance of a shot, right? Let's say I just neutrally balanced it, and then you go into show looks, and then you can use these kind of show looks. They work really well like that because the balance is usually gives you a neutral look, and then any one of these can actually help you to get to the look that you want, right? So they are separated in categories: strong, soft, warm, right? Then we have a cold, then we have some neutral, right? It's just a clean, nice looking. Then we have some documentary, that are not very heavy looking, right? Then we have some black and whites, historic ones that are like emulating looks from historic shots. And then here you have elements of the look that you can control. So for example, let's say I want to let's say just change the exposure of this particular shot, and I want it to be exactly for one stop up. You can just do that. You basically just press this, and now your whole shot is become one stop brighter. For example, you can use it like that. Or you could, for example, say, well, maybe I want to just adjust the white balance, and I want my white balance to be 50% warmer. You can just click that, and it's just going to happen as well. So these are sometimes, a more technical adjustments that you want to make to your look. You say, I love the look, but maybe I want to just add a little bit more technical twist to it. You have all those elements of those looks available here. By the way, there is another place where you're going to be able to use them as well. I'll show you that a little bit later. Then we have a project. Again, like in references, this is where you see the recent show looks that you used. If you have any favorites, if you imported any, all of them, right? Then we have some custom ones that you can build yourself and save, and so on and so on. So we'll come, more into the show looks a little bit later. Okay, here is your timeline. Like any other timeline, this just represents just the first clip. The shortcut is arrow up and down to move through the clips. You can just press spacebar to play, like anything else. Arrow left or arrow right is going to move like a frame left and right. And also we have a very long list when you right mouse click on any one of those that help us color manage the process. So for example, if I say I really love this look. Let's say this is the look that I like, and I want this look now to be my match, which is the same button as here, right? You can do that. I will show you in a detail, I will go really more into detail how the matching can work. So we'll learn that in just a minute, but I'm just basically giving you a little bit of an overview what you can do with this right mouse click. So for example, I can say match this shot, match this selection. So that means when I select more clips at the same time, then I can say match scene, match all. I can deselect them. I can copy grade. I can copy just a show look and paste it, and so on and so on and so on. Or I can just export a LUT as well. That this look that you see here, right? The whole look, we can also export it as a LUT as well. We'll dive a little bit deeper as we start color matching, and then I'm going to show you how to use all those features. This is your main weapon of choice. This is your lift gamma gain, right? The famous lift gamma gain that is just the most powerful tool. Most colorists will tell you that they develop probably 80% of your look using just this tool. This is basically nothing really special. So just so you know, you can also use these buttons here by moving your mouse left and right. You can just fine tune just one. You can also press shift and move the dial to get finer kind of precision if you want to do manual movement. But since you have an AI tool, you'll find probably that most of the stuff will be happening using AI. You won't need to tweak it too much by hand. Many users that we have like printer lights, right? Printer lights emulate the way how film works. how printing on film used to work. It's very intuitive, very popular for dailies because it's reversible. You have a full choice of that here. And then here we have a look design where we're building our looks, right? This is where all of the kind of, interesting stuff that we will be doing with looks is going to be happening. Okay, and then what we do have next is we have then here scopes, right? And scopes can be single or dual. So what does it mean? So when I'm in dual mode, then I, for example, have my source and my reference visible, okay? And then I can do like 4 views. One view is just a standard waveform. Another one is RGB waveform. And then another one is a vectorscope for color. And this is something we really love. It's called add Lachman zones. These add Lachman zones are super useful, especially when you start working with automated exposure. What they tell you is how the exposure looks like, but actually in source. Not, this is basically as same as if you had a light meter on set. And anything that's gray means, oh, this is the correctly exposed. This is on 0. Anything that's a little bit colder, like, greenish, bluish, is like underexposed. And everything that is warmer, it's overexposed. And it's actually absolutely okay. I would say as long as you don't have anything white or black, this is usually when you know that things are looking pretty good. Okay, so there we go. This is, the overview of the interface, how it works with quick examples to, how you can do it. But now let's go and dive a little bit deeper into the matching process. Okay, so now let's dive a little bit deeper into matching. But before I start to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and reset all and start from the beginning. In order for matching to work well, it is always important to make sure that you have color managed, that you have kind of selected the profile that is closest to your camera that you shot with, because that really helps the color engine get everything into the place, right? So there are effectively 3 ways how you can use the new Colourlab version 3 matching engine. First way is just by pressing balance. So if you press balance, it's going to go and basically just try to find the most neutral look, or kind of, like neutral grade rather than a look, to your shot. And it's fantastic. So for example, look, I have here several examples of a little bit underexposed, a little bit darker, a little bit brighter, a little bit darker, very bright, very overexposed. So what I can do is I can just shift click on all of those clips, right? And I just press balance and I let it go and do its job. So what it will do is we'll analyze clips not just individually, but overall as well, and then use that information to understand how best to bring those clips to that they feel like, that they are part of the same. So you see here, for example, right, we have been, very dark and a little bluish. Now we got finally skin to look like skin. Here we were like a little bit darker. Now we are like, nicer, more exposed. This one a little bit less change because it's better exposure. This one as well was all a little bit bluish. Now we fixed it. This, for example, is a very challenging shot, right? It's a sunset, right? But yet it still managed to get the exposure to look like absolutely fine. And then here, this shot was way overexposed, but hey, it figured out and just got it all really nicely balanced for you. So this is a really good way how to work, right? You can then always enhance your look further by using a show look. So let's say I don't want anything too strong. I want like just to go for something more neutral, but I still want to apply some form of look. So let's say, for example, this clean 2383 is the look that I want, right? And it looks quite good. Now look, if I just right mouse click on it, right, and I say apply to all, right, and it will do exactly that. Now every clip on my timeline is going to get it. And you see now it gets like in addition to the balance, right, where this is basically what we kind of, balanced it, we also got a little look applied to it, a little show light, which kind of sweetens our look even further. So that's a kind of, really cool way to how quickly, you can get your shots, into the ballpark, and you can then just, continue moving with this. Now, let me show you the method number 2. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reset everything I got here. And then I'm going to go now into my references. So these are my AI references. And as you can see, we kind of supplied you with lots of, examples as well. You can start with those examples. And let's say maybe I want to kind of now, for example, for these shots here, use something cold, right? So let's say, for example, go into palette. I'm going to go into blue. And I want to have something that's maybe like this, right? So it's like a tealish. So I'm going to say this first part here, can you please and match, using this kind of cold reference, right? And that's the result we got. So we have a little bit nighty kind of looking thing, right? So another thing that we can do is we can say, okay, these two shots, right? I want them to look very strong green. So again, you go then into green, right? And you say, oh my God, this is amazing, right? You do that and you just match, and these two shots will now get like this very strong green tint. This shot, I want to, and all of these shots, let's say this one, this one, this one, and this one, what I want to do is I want them to look more like sunset. So let's go scenes, and then I'm going to go into sunset. And let me go and find a beautiful sunset here. Why not maybe something like this, right? And I'm going to say, hey, go ahead and match all of those four. And it's going to try to get you the best possible kind of sunset feel. Did a pretty good job. Nothing to complain about, right? Perfect. So now I'm able to kind of not just, balance everything to look the same, but I'm actually able to give a little bit more character to my look and then, create like, some form of, like a looks that I want. Now you can go and further refine this, right? Which is by using this exposure feature. So what this exposure feature does, and it works especially well with that Lachman zones, it's following. You click on it, and then this number here tells you that whatever you highlight, it's going to be targeted for that exposure. So let's say I'm just going to highlight this area here, and it's going to give me a 0 exposure. Basically, that means I want, you see how my person here and everything around it is on 0. Okay. So for example, here I can just go and I can, just highlight it, right? Like this. And I say, you need to be sitting at a 0. It's pretty good already, right? And then you can just go and sometimes double check, because, the AI doesn't necessarily always know where is the focal point. We call it, what is the most interesting part of the shot? Doesn't really always know, so you sometimes by, highlighting it and telling it, hey, this is my center of attention. This is what I want you to expose for, like, that this is where my 0 should be sitting. And it's going to like just a little bit correct all of those things. So you see, for example, this face is a little bit too dark. All you do is just highlight it and it's going to go and correct exposure of your face. Okay, and that's a really, really cool way to how you can, continue working and making things like, a little bit more creative, right? Now, these references that we have supplied, we generated using Midjourney. You can also do something like that yourself, but certainly we would want you to expand it and to use it as your own. So what you can do is you can just go into import references here, right? And for example, I'm just going to go into my desktop here, and then I'm going to go into the look pack and sources, right? And let's say I'm going to look for some interesting reference, maybe this one, right? This is from a movie Spectre, and I downloaded this from a database called Shot Deck. So it asks you, hey, what is your IDT? And ODT means of my source is actually an sRGB image or something like that. I'm going to leave it on 709. It looks pretty good on 709 as well. Then it's going to tell you, hey, what is the, the library you're going to put it in, right? So I'm just going to go and leave it like this. And I'm going to go and tell it, this is my Spectre, right? Okay. And then I'm going to go and import it, right? So now I have this look. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go and set this look for matching, right? So we're going to go and set that to be the match. And now I can go and match to that look. Okay, so you see, I can actually use my own references in, to be able to come, to the look that I want. Okay, you can actually, now it's a good moment to show you another feature which is really cool, which is called color tune. So let's see what is color tune. So let's say you just matched it, but you say like, you know, I really feel like I can tweak this a little bit more. So what you do is you click on color tune, and all of the most important image settings or look settings are available here. So the first thing you probably want to do is you want to click here on a contrast, right? And you want to increase the contrast, right? So you see as I'm increasing the contrast, I'm getting, you know, better and better result. Then I can say maybe I want to change the density of the shot and I want my density to be lower. Now I'm good, right? Then I want to basically a little bit desaturate it. So I can just go and scroll and I can choose it. So it's very, very intuitive way for you to go and fine tune the look that you want without having to tweak too much with dials, especially if you're not necessarily a professional colorist. This is really going to help you. Okay, so this is, let's say, for example, you know, another way, you know, to how we can go and build looks by bringing our own references. And now I'm going to show you a third way of working. The third way of working is simply by making a look on one of the shots that you like. Let's say we really like this look. And also what we want to do is we're going to go into show looks and we're going to go into historic and we're going to go and let's say apply maybe something like, oh, Fuji Interna's too strong. Let's say this one, Agfa XT. And let's say this is really the look that I like at the moment. All right. So what I can do now is I can go and say set as match. All right. So when you click on that, what you did now is you have taken one of the clips from your timeline and made that clip to be your reference. And now what you can do, for example, you could just go and say, hey, just go and match all. So now you're basically taking your own reference, and that your own reference is going to be then propagated throughout the whole timeline. So you see what it did, it actually tried to do and match this to everything else. Okay, and it did actually a pretty good job with that. You can always, and as I said, go and a little bit refine it. Like you say, no, I want this exposure a little bit down, right? For example, no, it's a little bit too dark. So maybe I'm going to say, give me a half a stop up, right? So I can basically do that as well, right? So you can actually, you know, use, you know, this, you know, as well like this. Oh no, maybe I want to do it like 2 stops up because my reference is pretty bright, right? This is much better, right? So you can actually go and just, you know, adjust all of your shots, you know, so that they basically get, you know, to about the target that you want. This one, I'm going to go and just make it a little bit 0, for example, like this. Let's see, where is that kind of bring me? No, I need to go lower. Let's go 2 stops or 3 stops down. Let's see that. Perfect. Now this is much better. Now I can say, no, actually, you know what? This is better reference. And I'm going to go and match this shot to my reference. Oh, wow, this is now giving me much better look, right? So you can experiment. You can actually see which types of the references, you know, are working better or worse for your show, right? And that experimentation is really what you want. And at any time you kind of do something and you go like, no, I don't like it, you can just say Command Z, undo, and then you get it back to where you want to do. But I find that, you know, this kind of look with a little bit more contrast kind of feels much better to me, right? So this is like a third way to how you can use Colourlab creatively, okay? So now we're good. We're kind of in a very good position and we are ready to export. So let's see how we are going to do that. So now let's see how to best export our grades. So if you have imported the media directly, what you would want to do is you would want to come here and say export movie. And there you have an option to export it as H.264, ProRes 422, or even ProRes 444. You can export the whole timeline as one clip, some selected shots or all shots. And you can export them in your HD resolution, UHD, or native resolution. And even you can choose a different color space that you want to export it in. We're going to assume now that our project has originated in Davinci Resolve, right? So if we go to Davinci Resolve, our sequence is still there. What we're going to do now is we're just going to go and say push to resolve, right? So we're just going to say push to resolve. Okay, I won't make these changes yet. And then what's going to happen is we're going to go and create a node tree. By default, this is just the 4 nodes, but I'm going to show you in another tutorial how you can expand this functionality as well. And there you go, like everything, all the grades that you created, they're all available for you here in real time, where you can actually go and turn on and off every part of your grade. So there is IDT, Showlat, CDL. So this is this kind of, lift, gamma, gain changes, the same identical changes that you made inside Colourlab are now available to you here as a parameters that you can freely change. And this is really probably the most elegant way on how to work with Colourlab AI. If, on the other hand, you've been working with Adobe Premiere, then all you have to do is just go here and say push to Premiere. I'm not going to save any of these changes. Now we're going to go and apply to each one of your clips on a timeline a Colourlab engine effect. So this is this clip here. This is like a little effect, right? And if you turn it on and off, right, you're basically going to see your, graded and ungraded clip. And it plays back in real time. It uses less cycles than Lumetri engine. It's very advanced. It gives you full color management as well, and it's fully real time. So there is really absolutely no rendering, no exporting. It's linked perfectly between the two, and now you're able to continue working and editing as you wish. So if you're a Final Cut Pro user, what you can do is this is your timeline, right? And we just graded our timeline in Colourlab Ai. All we need to do then is we need to say here, push to Final Cut, right? It's going to be here, it says, hey, this is my library. And then it's going to open a new event and a new project for you. And the same thing like in Adobe Premiere, you get one like an effect applied, which is called CL Engine, that is going to apply all those color corrections that have been done inside Colourlab Ai as a parameters, and you're going to be able to move them seamlessly into Final Cut, and so be able to play them back in real time. No relinking, no exports, no nothing. It's by far the fastest way of working. I sincerely hope that you have found this tutorial useful and that it's going to help you on your journey to adopt Colourlab Ai in your workflow. Sign up for the channel. There's going to be more videos and more tutorials coming weekly, and if you also want to join the conversation, there is also a link below to how to join our Discord channel. So I'm really looking forward to welcoming you to our Colourlab Ai family. Happy grading.